Alright, so that's the sine function that we just did. Now we're doing with our cosine function. And again, with this, we're going to do the exact same thing we just did. And again, this is our parent graph for a sine function, the cosine function. So again, it's our parent graph. And with this, again, we're going to fill in the values here, and then we're going to plot it on there. They have, if you look at it, also they have the same exact x values here. So on the x-axis is going to be the same exact values there. It's not going to change. So with that, before we do any type of graphing or anything, let's go ahead and find the values. So this time we're dealing with cosine. So we do cosine 0 because we're still in the radian mode. We're in radian mode. So that gives us 1 here. Again, we do cosine alpha y equals to pi over 2. That gives you 0. This is -1. We're in radian mode, so that this part here we don't have to focus on changing mode and all this stuff. We're already in radian mode, so we don't have to change the mode for it. Alright, then we do cosine 2 pi. Alright, so again, we just put those into the calculator and found the values of it because we're already in radian mode. Alright, so that's the biggest part there. Make sure we know. Now here, let's just put everything in. So it's pi over 2, this is pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And again, we do the opposite on this side, so it's negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2, and negative 2 pi. And again, it's negative 1 on the bottom, positive 1 on top. And again, we plot these points. So here we start at 0 and we go up 1. So 0, 1. We plot 0, 1. We have pi over 2 and 0. So we come up to pi over 2 and we stop at 0. We have pi and negative 1. So come up to pi, go down negative 1. Okay. So then we have 3 pi over 2 and 0. So 3 pi over 2 and 0. And we have 2 pi and 1. So we come to 2 pi and we go up to the number 1. And again, these are nice and smooth curves. So for a cosine, we make it nice and smooth, connecting the points. Okay, and then on the left side, we continue that same pattern again. So it comes down and then back up, and then it comes down. It goes all the way down. Then back up, and then all the way up. And again, it's going to start coming back down again on this side. It's going to start coming back down again on this side. So when we do our domain and range, we should be able to figure out something also here. So our domain, we have an arrow on both sides. So that means we're in negative infinity, positive infinity. And our range goes from negative 1 at the bottom to positive 1 on top. And that's the cosine function. Sorry, let's pull it up. That's our cosine function. Now, if we take a look at both of these two functions together, your domain and range are the exact same thing. looking at sine and cosine. They're the exact same thing there. But cosine goes through 0, 0. Sorry, sine goes through 0, 0. Cosine goes through 0, 1. And that's important for us to graph this, because if you do all the stuff that we're getting ready to do with transformations, but you graph the wrong function, like in other words, you graph this function instead of the cosine function, or this function instead of the sine function, it's going to be wrong, even though you did all the work, because you graphed the wrong graph. So here's a good tip here. I'm going to write the word tip at the bottom here. Tip. Ooh, come back up, come back up. There we go. Write this in red. So the sine function goes through zero, 0, or the origin. And the cosine graph, still in green, goes through 0, 1. And that's going to be the biggest difference between the two. Knowing what it goes through determines which function you're dealing with. And that dictates you graphing it correctly or graphing it wrong. And again, the cosine function goes through 0, 1. And the sine function goes through 0, 0, the origin. And that's our two parent graphs.